Alright, so today's a no joke. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Saudi Cup this weekend. And I'm going to be talking about every race on the card. Obviously, not the handicaps. I'm not going to talk about the shit races. But I'm going to be talking about, all the stakes races, talk about all the international runners, and who I think will win these races. But, obviously, the Saudi Cup has been sort of the theatre of a lot of big racing moments in the last few years. Last year we saw Romantic Warrior and Forever Young battle it out down the stretch, which was, for me, one of the great racing moments of 2025. And then the year before, Senor Buscador came from a different bloody time zone to win the race in a really close finish. And the same year we saw, Spirit Dancer win the Neom Turf Cup for Sir Alex Ferguson, and then obviously a NAF won the sprint that year too, which I remember at the time was a massive surprise, especially for Ross Orion. And then, even before that, Panther Lasser won the Saudi Cup. Jonathan Thady Gosden and David Egan won it with Mishrif, who, wasn't really an obvious chance at the time because there were some really good US runners in the race that year. So the Saudi Cup's really proven itself as this, global meeting where these exciting moments happen. And I reckon for the punter as well, there's quite a bit of value to be found. So I'll start off with the 1800 metre 2-8 Cup. I'm not spending much time on this. I'm just mentioning two horses that I noticed in the field. Firstly is Bernard Shaw, who was an ex-Ballydoyle horse by Into Mischief. I'm pretty sure they picked him up for like $1.8 million as a yearling, so it was a very expensive yearling. And he didn't really fire. He won at Dundalk on debut very well, and I thought, he's bred to run on dirt. They could keep him for a UAE 2000 guineas, a UAE Derby or something, but they obviously sold him. So I hope he runs well. And then the one other horse I wanted to talk about was, and I've already gone past him, Michael Schofield. Obviously, very cool name for a horse, I reckon. But yeah, he went 2 from 2 as a 3-year-old on the all-weather. He's by Tis the Law, so he's bred to run on the dirt. But I think he ran in the Burradon Stakes, which is a listed all-weather race for 3-year-olds, and he didn't really do very well. So yeah, he's obviously been sold to Saudi and is getting a new lease on life on the dirt there. So I hope him and Bernard Shaw run well. And then there's Scotland Yard as well, who's getting a bit older, and he's been a feature in some of these big dirt races. I think he's only run in the Saudi Cup. He might have ran last year and the year before. Did he win it, actually? He might have won it. Because there was a year when a Saudi horse won the race. It might have been like the first or second year of it. No, he didn't win it. Emblem Road is the horse. I get the two confused. Emblem Road won it 1 year for Saudi. Anyways, we'll continue to the first of the big races. Yeah, so the Saudi Derby over a mile on the dirt. This is sort of, where international horses can possibly kick off their Kentucky Derby campaign. We saw Forever Young obviously win it 2 years ago. He ended up in the Kentucky Derby and was a bit hard done by, arguably should have won. But yeah, there's a few in here that I'll talk about. My World has been going quite well. I believe he won a listed race at Aqueduct last start. Obliteration's interesting too, because he ran really well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So, he's been jumping between surfaces a little bit. But he's done well on dirt too. He's by Violence. So, bred to run on dirt. The question mark here, though, is, he's been doing these sprint races. Now he's gone up to a mile. He's bred to get a mile on the dirt, but, there's a few unknowns there. There's a very realistic chance that he gets to the straight and, just completely runs out of gas, which is why I'm not touching him. Although he's definitely the form horse of the race. He's run in some very good races. Then you got Satono Voyage. He won the listed, actually might have been a Group 3. He won a good dirt race at Tokyo last start. I believe it's called the Catalia Stakes. And he seems like a really, really good chance for this race. Keita Sasaki rides, who won on him last start, and he's one of the top jockeys in Japan. Yeah, I think he's probably the horse you want to be on here. Obviously, barrier 11 is a worry, but the thing is, at Riyadh, on the dirt track, over a mile and 1,800 meters. It's a one bend race, so it's a long stretch into the first bend, and then you're in the home straight. So I think horses drawn wide aren't really it's not really a disadvantage like it is at most tracks. So I'm not worried about barrier 11. Then we go down a bit. We've got Cheyenne, who won a listed race at Pontefract last start in October. So he's coming here fresh. He's not really bred to run on the dirt. I don't think he is, at least. I know his sire didn't run on the dirt. But yeah, it's interesting that Carl Burke's sending a runner here. Because yeah, I don't think he was the obvious pick to go on the dirt. But it's interesting seeing these UK trainers, challenging their horses on different surfaces. No obvious dirt pedigree. But I'd say the owner probably has something to do with it as well. It's a Middle Eastern owner, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. It's a very hard race though, for these horses that haven't run on dirt before. Although to be fair, the surface in Riyadh, it's not like a really thick, savage dirt track. It's more of like an artificial dirt, which is why we've seen some turf horses do really well here in the past. So, he could show a sight. That's what some of the fancy pundits say. And then Union Security as well. Obviously, the trainer and jockey won the race last year with Golden Vekoma. I wonder where he is, by the way. It must be injured or something, but he won the race last year. They're trying again this year with Union Security. My issue is that Union Security is nowhere near the horse that Golden Vekoma is, so yeah, I probably wouldn't bother with him. Although he did run okay last time in the UAE 2000 Guineas. He might run a place, but I can't really have him to win. So yeah, my first bet on Saudi Cup night is going to be on Satono Voyage. I think Obliteration might be a better horse, but Satono Voyage has proven himself over a mile in a Group 3 or a listed race. I can check. It's not really worth my time though. He's coming here with good mile form, good jockey. I can't really knock him, to be honest, so I'll probably have a bet on him. We'll move on to the next race. It is the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so obviously it's going to be a frantic dirt race. It was won last year by, what looked like to be a superstar in Straight No Chaser, ridden by John Velazquez. And yeah, he looked like an absolute machine last year. So I'm looking at American and Japanese horses here. Because I'm pretty sure a horse called Remake won it the year before. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it did. But yeah, we'll go through it a little bit. So, American stage. He ran in the big dirt races last year in Dubai. He did alright in the Group 3, but I forget how he did in the Golden Sheen, but he's pretty solid. Although barrier 12 is a problem, and he didn't run very well last start in his prep run, so probably steer away from him. Then Colour Up, who's trained in Dubai, although he's an 8-year-old, so he's getting on a little bit. Then you got Don Amity, Japanese horse. Ryan Moore booked, which is obviously a very helpful jockey booking. You got Echo Point, who's another Dubai pensioner. But they're having their chance with him. Then we got the favourite, Imagination. This is probably the best horse in the field. Flavian Pratt books, who's an excellent jockey, although he's barrier 9, which is quite problematic in my opinion. But yeah, Imagination's a very good chance. He was the favourite for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Sprint this year. Then we go to Just Bet the Odds, who I don't know a great deal about. Obviously, American form with Irattle T's booked, which is a problem. This is an interesting runner, Lovesick Blues. I saw some photos of him doing some training this week, and he's this beautiful grey horse. He's trained by Librado Barocchio, who is a movie director as well. So I hope this horse runs a big race. As I said, he's a beautiful grey horse. He'll definitely catch the eyes of the crowd and the commentator. Then we got Saudi trained horse. We've got Royal Zabil here, who I get why they're running him, because he won a listed race on the all-weather last start. And they want to have a crack, but in my opinion, he's the NAF's travel companion for this. So probably don't give him much of a chance. There's far more seasoned, proper dirt horses here. Self-improvement's interesting. daring bit of campaigning to run in this race. I believe he won the Korea Sprint 2 starts back, which is a dirt race in Korea, Group 3. So, yeah, he did, yeah. 3 starts back. So, daring bit of campaigning. It's probably going to be a bit much. Right, now this is the horse that I think is going to win this race. Imagination is the best horse, but he's drawn pretty badly, so I can't have that. And it's so frantic going into that first turn in this distance and track layout. So I'm looking away from the favourite. Yamanin Cerchi is very interesting to me. Ridden by Miro Iwata, who's one of the better jockeys in Japan. I can't really knock this horse. He's a 4-year-old. And he ran second last start in the Capella Stakes at Tokyo on the dirt. Obviously beaten 5 lengths by Teo Elvis, who, to be honest, I'm not sure why he's not running here. He might have had an issue. They might be, going up a trip with him. But second in this really competitive dirt race, I reckon there's a fantastic form line for this. I believe he's like $4 maybe. Actually, no, he's like $8. What am I saying? Yeah, 8-1 or 9-1 on the UK bookies, because Australia hasn't priced up yet. Fucking hell. All right, so and then Gabby's sister ran a nice race last year. Barrier 10's tricky. Jao Moreira's in form and a good jockey, so could run a good race. But Yamanin Cerchi is the one that I like here. All right, we'll move on to the STC 1351 Turf Sprint. Yes. All right. So, firstly, this is a really interesting race. Obviously, it's a weird distance. It says 7 furlongs, but it's 1,351 meters. It's got something to do with Islamic, like an Islamic starting of something in like 1351 AD. Pretty sure it's something to do with that. This isn't a history channel, so we'll talk about the racing. Right, so Anaf's here for a third crack. He won the race 2 years ago, although he's 7 years old now, so yeah, probably look away from him. Comanche Brave is drawn pretty poorly, and he's just run at a mile in the Abu Dhabi Gold Cup. He ran a very good race there, but back to 1,300 metres essentially is going to be way too sharp for him. Fortune Time, I don't know a great deal about, but to be honest, I'm just gonna keep going because I don't think he's one of the main chances here. Geography goes okay, but this will be too sharp for him. Now, Lazat, barrier 12. This is his perfect distance, He won the Prix Marie de Geest as a 3-year-old, which is over that little bit further. It's like 1,300 meters. So, this is a really perfect distance for him. But barrier 12 is just such a problem. I was so keen to back him here as well. If it was drawn barrier 5 or something, I would have put my mortgage. Talking like I have a mortgage. But yeah, I can't entertain that at barrier 12. And he's catted it. He's been a cat a few times last year, so looking away from him. Then we got Marvel Man, who I believe he won a Group 2 over 1,400 meters. It might have been like the Challenge Stakes or something at Newmarket. And it didn't really fire in the QE2. PJ McDonald booked. It's an interesting race to run him in, but probably can't go for him. This is the other one that I wanted to back, Panja Tower. Obviously is a good sort of miler, 1,400 meter horse. He comes from the same form line that won the race last year. We saw Ascoli Pacino win the race last year. She came from a run in the Golden Eagle in Sydney, which is proving to be a really world-class, international, good form race. So, Panja Tower comes from the same race as Ascoli Pacino, and Panja Tower ran way better than Ascoli Pacino did. So, I really want to back him, but same issue as Lazat, drawn atrociously, and it's going to be a frantic tear into the first bend. I'll do a bit more research though, because I need to look at Panja Tower's runs. If he comes from the back, barrier 11 might not be the worst thing, because Jao Moreira can just drop him out. I know Lazat, runs on the speed, so that's more of an issue. But I need to look at Panja Tower's replays. If he runs if he's more of a dropout sort of horse, I might have a crack. But yeah, we'll move on. Panja Tower is obviously one of the form horses here. Reef Run is really interesting, very consistent horse in these sprints in America at Gulfstream. Sort of a listed level runner, but the past winners of this race haven't been from America, and American turf form doesn't really stack up in international races, so I've got to ignore him. And I rattled T's book too. You already know what I think of him. And then Shin Forever, obviously, kind of a random horse to run here. Good jockey booking, but I think he's just a travelling companion for Forever Young and Shin Emperor. Even though they're like travel, even though, yeah, you know what I mean. They just bring him along for the run. And then Time to Dazzle, I think he goes alright. Good jockey booking. But yeah, as I said, American turf form doesn't really stack up on the international stage, so we'll move on. I think if I'm going to have a bet there, it'll be on Panja Tower. But as I said, I need to look at how his running style is. Alright, so we'll move on to the Neom Turf Cup, a new Group 1. It's been a Group 2 the last few years, so it's interesting to see this has been upgraded. Yeah, it's been won by the likes of Spirit Dancer. Who won it last year? Oh yeah, Shin Emperor won it last year. That's right. He was a really hot favourite after coming second in the Japan Cup. So we'll start off with Alohi Alii, who's a very interesting runner. I don't know who's. I could have sworn. I think Mirai Iwata's riding. I think that's a bit of a glitch. But yeah, he won that Group 3 in France before the Arc and showed a really tremendous turn of foot. He was coming off that Group 1 form in Japan, that Guineas sort of form, I believe. So yeah, he won very well in France and then didn't fire in the Arc, which, it happens. Most Japanese horses don't fire in the Arc. But he's very interesting. I think he's very good over a mile and a quarter, and this should suit him. The ground should be somewhat reminiscent of Japanese ground. Should be quite on the good side, good to firm. Factor Cheval's running here. He ran okay in the QE2. Actually, did he? I think he might have ran like shit in the QE2. Yeah, it didn't run great. A lot of horses didn't go well there, though. He's just a bit of a journeyman at this point in his career. I mean, yeah, he won the Dubai Turf coming up to 2 years ago, but, they've tried him on the dirt, which, he was satisfactory at best. I just can't have him here, to be honest. I remember, when he ran in the Prince of Wales last year, the jockey had a meltdown the trainer had a meltdown over Flavian Pratt, who was booked. And the trainer was whinging about how bad of a ride it was. I looked at it back. The horse just didn't stay. It was a fine ride, I thought. The horse just didn't stay. So, he's not really a 2,000 metre horse. You kind of got to limit him at 1,800 metres. They should be going for a Dubai Turf with him, really. Now, this is one of my best chances all meeting. Not joking. This is one of the best chances, I reckon. Galen, trained by Joseph O'Brien, ridden by Dylan Brown McMonigal. Fucking hell, I nearly died then. But this is a really good horse, He's quite progressive. He's been, running in these in the summer. He was running in these sort of Group 3 listed races and doing quite well. And yeah, a fourth behind Romantic Warrior, beaten a little ways, but that is world class form, I reckon. And obviously second in Bahrain to Royal Champion, where he just got mowed down. This is a really good horse, and I'm going to be having a bet on him. He's one of my better bets for the meeting, actually. And I'll tell you why once I finish talking about the rest of these horses. So yeah, you got Phantom Flight, who's kind of got that Bahrain form. I don't think that's very strong. Royal Champion's probably the main danger here. Won that big race in Bahrain. Won the York Stakes quite emphatically. But he's 8 years old, which is, I'll explain why that's an issue. Shin Emperor, I think, is he favourite for this race? Surely not. I don't know where it is, but I could have sworn he was favourite or something, which is just mind blowing, to be honest, because he's not the same horse as he was last year. Then you got Salawi, who was a Group 1 winner somehow. Won the Canadian International last year. Probably needs a mile and a half, but, he's Qatari owned. They want to run in these big Middle Eastern races. I get it. Yamanin Cerchi probably isn't good enough. I had a quick look at its form. It's not good enough. Servi, to be fair, is quite interesting. She's one of two mares in this race. But yeah, I don't know that she's good enough. Like obviously she won that 3-horse race at Lingfield last start. Like she won by she should have won by 6 lengths if she was going to win here. I don't know. Like she was very good, but I don't know that she's the same horse. So I've just got to look away. So yeah, with this race, my consensus is that the good horses here are just a bit old. Like this is a Group 1. 7 and 8 year olds don't really win Group 1s in the Northern Hemisphere. They do it a lot in the Southern Hemisphere, but they just don't fight. Like I'm looking for a young, hungry horse, and Royal Champion is not young and hungry. Phantom Flight is not young and hungry. Galen and Alohi Alii are young 4 and 5 year olds running in Group 1s here. Alohi Ali's been exposed to Group 1s a bit. Galen hasn't run in very many. I think this is their time. I think this is the changing of the guard between older horses and young horses. So yeah, I'm gonna have a good bet on Galen. I'm gonna have like a smallish bet on Alohi Alii. But yeah, I think this is gonna be just like the young horses sort of outshining the old horses. Right, I'm in the middle of that, but yeah, those are my 2 picks for that race. Now I'll move on to the Red Sea Turf Handicap. This is one of maybe 3 or 4 handicaps that I'll actually have a serious look in, because I think handicaps are a rort basically. But this is a really good race. So we got Presage Nocturne, who he ran in the Melbourne Cup last start, but probably didn't run as good as they thought. Carries top weight here, which is tricky in any handicap. We got Table Talk here, who ran second in a listed race at Chester last start, which I don't think's the best form line. For me personally, as a punter, I'm trying to find the strongest form line that hasn't been punished by the handicapper. And I'll get onto 2 horses in a minute who I think fit that mould. Right, so yeah, Epic Poet as well. He runs very well in the Middle East. He really comes alive. I think he's a good chance here, but yeah, he's carrying a bit of weight, and I think there's horses here with stronger form lines than he does. Although he's got a very simple style of running. You see Danny Tudhope drop him out a little bit, and then just starts going at around the 800 metres. Like, I reckon I could ride Epic Poet if I had to. So we've got Sons and Lovers, who's a relatively new acquisition for the owner. He's okay, but as I said before, there's horses with stronger form lines who I'll get onto. We've got Struve here, who is interesting because he's Japanese, and what I've noticed in the past in this race is that the Japanese horses just fly completely under the radar with the handicapper. Like, for example, Byzantine Dream last year was like a Group 1 like midfield horse and wasn't top weight somehow. Was carrying like, I don't know, it wasn't top weight, it was like quite a bit less with O'Sheen Murphy booked. That was one of the biggest missed opportunities of my life. And even like before then, I think there was a horse called Stay Foolish, which was like a proper Group 1 horse, and he like pissed up in the race, I'm pretty sure. So, the Japanese got to be respected here, but these are not good Japanese horses running here, so I will be looking away from them. Right, so this is one of 2 that I really fancy here. Tennessee Stud. Obviously last year, we remember him for running really well in some of the big Group 1s, placed in the Derby, placed in the Irish Derby, and then he capped off his year winning a Group 2. I believe it was the Prix Chardonnay over 3,000 metres at Longchamp, albeit it was on wet ground, so you could probably mark that performance down a bit if you're considering him for this race. He's currently 3-1 on the UK bookies. I think he should be like $2, to be honest. Ryan Moore booked proper Group 1, Group 2 form last year. It's baffling to me that he's not like $2, $2.50. I'm going to be getting on straight away if he's still like, $4, that sort of price. So yeah, I think there's a huge chance here. Burdett Road, ran okay last start at Meydan. He's done the whole hurdling campaign. I just can't back a hurdler in these sorts of races. I'm about to contradict myself because I think Goodie Two Shoes ran on hurdles. But yeah, talking about Goodie Two Shoes, look at that form line. Second in the Melbourne Cup last start. I think she did run on hurdles in a hurdles race. Obviously owned by JP McManus, so it would make sense. Yeah, she's done some work on hurdles, but you cannot ignore that last start run. Like before that, she was running third in a Group 2, first in a listed race. Like, you cannot ignore that for a race like this. She's ran mainly on good ground. Like, that is just ridiculous form, and she's not carrying much weight either. So she's the other bet that I'll be having in this race. Joseph O'Brien is winning this race regardless. Then we got Espoir Avenir, who's kind of like an up and coming French horse. He might run a good race. You got to respect these good French stayers. Obviously, we saw horses like Double Major. He ran very well in the Dubai Gold Cup last year. So you got to respect these French stayers. Yeah, Vermicelli's is an average Japanese horse. Real Dream, won't be good enough, although he doesn't carry much weight. Tariance is interesting. Obviously, Oisin Murphy booked. Judmont owned. He's quite an interesting runner. However, it's just there are some serious horses in this race. So, yeah, I'm going to be going with Tennessee Stud and Goodie Two Shoes in this race, both each way. Actually, no, sorry, Tennessee Stud to win. I think Goodie Two Shoes is a little bit bigger of a price. Yeah, as I said, Tennessee Stud, really, really interesting. All right, so we'll move on to the big one now. I've harped on enough about the other races. I probably won't even spend much time on this because it's pretty clear cut, although I don't think it is actually. I think Forever Young might get beat. But, it's going to take a special horse to beat him because he's probably the best horse to ever come out of Japan. Like, on the dirt. He's the best dirt horse, at least, because Japan's created some absolute monsters over the years. He'll probably win, but, at the same time, he only just won the Breeders' Cup Classic, He only just won it. So, he should win this. He should probably win. Like, he won it. If you forget Romantic Warrior was in the race, he won by 8 lengths. So, obviously, he's the favourite. But, for me personally, I'm trying to get favourites beat. I can't back anything below $2. These are just my personal betting rules as I've developed over the last 2 or 3 years. So that's why I'm going to have a bet on Nysos here. You can't ignore this horse's form, He's never ran worse than second, I believe. He's a Group 1 winner. He won a really good Group 1 in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And I think he won his last start, or he came second at least. But his last start was probably used as a bit of a prep run for this. He won. He beat Nevada Beach, who also lines up here. And I like the fact that he's going from a mile up to 1,800 metres. I always like horses going up a bit in trip. I think he's like $4.50 on Australian Bet365. So I'll just have a bet on him. Obviously, stake accordingly because there's a very good chance Forever Young, wins by 8 lengths. I like Nysos. I think you don't get very many chances to back a horse like him. The price he's at. So interesting runner. You've also got Nevada Beach, who ran second to Nysos last start. Irad Ortiz booked, who, probably look away from him. And then Luxor Cafe. This is a really interesting runner, He was running the Kentucky Derby last year, didn't run very well. But, he's kind of creeping up. Let's have a look at his form, actually, because I think he's a good price. He's like $13. There's a lot worse horses in this race than him. And got Gio Moreira on board who, won the Abu Dhabi Gold Cup on Struve. Right, so, he won a Group 3. Then, didn't fire in the Champions Cup. But you can, just put a pen through it. And you got Florent Giroux who rode him, who is not used to the style of running in Japan. I think, he's probably an interesting each-way play. But when you have a favourite like Forever Young, it's tricky to look at the value options in the market. But if this horse runs second or third, I wouldn't be surprised at all. He's a good horse, good form. Then you got Sunrise Zapangu, who I think he ran second in the February Stakes last year, which is a mile on the dirt. And then he's ran on He's running some big turf races like the Arima Canen, and now he's back on the dirt. I think it's going to be like too much of a switch up for him, but good for connections to roll the dice in such a valuable race, and they managed to score a world class jockey at the same time on him. So he'll have every chance. Down the list we got Tumbarumba as well, who I think he's one of the only one of the only Dubai trained runners here. But yeah, he ran a very good race last start, to be fair. I believe he ran second in that Al Maktoum challenge race. So, he's coming here off good form, but my issue is that Middle Eastern runners just don't do well in this race, or like Dubai trained runners don't do well in this race. This race has been ruled by American and Japanese and Mishrif and that one Saudi runner in the race's history. So, yeah, I think, probably, he might be okay at 20-1, but yeah, I'll be looking elsewhere. Banishing, he's kind of an average, like, American horse. Obviously, some of these American horses are really trying because, dirt racing is their thing, and this is the most valuable dirt race in the world, so it makes a lot of sense. I think this Adel Al-Faradi is an okay jockey in Saudi, but, when he's riding against Oisin Murphy, you know who I'm picking. But yeah, Rattle and Roll, running these races last year, didn't really fire. Then you got Amarat Al-Zaman, who's very good on the Saudi circuit, if you like. He's very consistent, although at 40-1, Ryan Moore's going to have his work cut out. And then you've just got some, itchy nose. Then you just got some of these like strugglers down the bottom. But yeah, it's a very good edition of the race. I would have liked to have seen Romantic Warrior run here. That would have just added like a completely new dimension to the race. And it, would have just been the biggest story in racing, let's face it. But yeah, I'll be having a bet on Nysos. Although, yeah, this is the thing with me. If these short price favourites win like short price favourites, I'm a racing fan to the point where, even if I've lost a bit of money on another horse, I can appreciate a really good horse winning or a jockey doing a really good ride, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'll be doing an all-nighter on Saturday night, obviously Australian time, for the Saudi Cup meeting. So, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully some of the horses I picked out win, because, yeah, it would be pretty depressing if none of them win. But, yeah, if you like this sort of thing, just like and subscribe, and, follow me on Twitter, that type of thing. And, yeah, see you later.